Hey everyone, how's it going? Been a little bit, not as long as last time, but this is another talking head video while I work on a main project that I'm working on. So feel free to put this video in the background, or I mean, if you're really into it, you could just you could watch me. You could just watch my head talk to you and do stuff like that. I mean, I get that this big nose has got like its own magnetic pull. So if you feel like watching me, you can watch me. Anyway, the topic of today's Talking Head video is going to be Return to Silent Hill. Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna preface that I actually did like this movie, right? But just like all the other Silent Hill movies, which I won't lie, I kind of have a soft spot for them. They frustrate the fuck out of me. They frustrate the living hell out of me, the Silent Hill movies. And if I'm being honest, like I have my thoughts on Return to Silent Hill and a little bit of the Silent Hill movies in general sort of written here. And if you don't mind, I would like to go through them. All right, so without further ado, let's really delve into this Talking Head video. I'm definitely a newborn Silent Hill fan, right? The first game I played was the Silent Hill 2 remake. Actually, there's a correction. I didn't play the original Silent Hill 2. I played Silent Hill 2 on the HD collection when I was a kid. Got to the first, what are they called? They're called like lying figures, right? Where it's like, those things. I got to that and I was like, nope. And then I stopped playing the game, but the first Silent Hill game that I really did play was the Silent Hill 2 remake. And afterwards, I was very much hooked. I played Silent Hill 3, I'm currently playing through Silent Hill 4, and I played Silent Hill F. I've watched a fuck ton of lore videos, and and any game that I can't get my hands on, I've watched reviews on. And I've also watched all the Silent Hill movies, and I have the biggest love-hate relationship with them that I've like to the point where it's analogous to like going back to a toxic ex, where it's like for some reason you keep coming back, you don't know why, but you just do. Like, okay, on the one hand, these movies get a lot of things right. Like, you can tell that the people behind these films love the source material. There are far too many little touches in the set design and the VFX for that not to be the case. And on the other hand, they make all these unnecessary changes to the plot that do nothing more than either, one, overcomplicate the original story, two, stupidify the original story. I'm looking to the cult. Like, what the fuck did they do to the cult in these movies? Or three, which I honestly think is the worst thing that these movies can do, miss the point. And I actually think that's very much specific to Return to Silent Hill. With that being said, I'm going to go over my thoughts on Return to Silent Hill, and just to preface, there will be spoilers ahead. I'll start with pros. I'll start with things that I liked. This movie definitely gets the looks down perfectly. I think more so than any of the other Silent Hill movies. Even the like original monster design. Like there was that weird spider lady thing. That actually felt more Silent Hill than like the original monster design, say, in the second Silent Hill movie. It also like nails it just on like an artistic level. Even though the VFX look a little gamey, they still they nail that Silent Hill feel. I also think the actors are doing a great job of what they're given. To the point, like, I think, like, honestly, the casting is perfect. Right? And there's even like some pretty tasteful like little fan service. Like there's this bit in, like, you see like a flashback and James and Mary are at this club and they're playing I Want Love. From like the Silent Hill 3 soundtrack. I fucking adore that song like to death, and they're playing it in the background, and I remember I was just like, I want a cup that overflows with love. Like I love it. I even think the idea that the movie was going for, it sort of goes for like combining the plot of Silent Hill 2 and the ideas that were introduced in Shattered Memories. It sort of like mushes it together. I actually think that's not a bad idea for a film adaptation, considering how personal of a story Silent Hill 2 is. And I think it could have led to some really interesting character moments, and to the movie's credit, it kind of does sometimes. Not all the times, but it does. And also, there's a lot of like flashbacks, like developing James and Mary, like, this relationship. I kind of wish we saw more of that, because the bits of them like doing like typical romantic things I thought was really good, and the actors handle it quite well. Okay, now on to the cons, which for the sake of ease I've like listed up. So 1, this is a big con for me. Shattered memories at home. I said that I think the idea was good, but the execution was terrible. This movie tries to be Shattered Memories, and while it does, it trips, falls, breaks its leg, then limps to the finish line. I say this because I kinda liked the film's ending. It ends with James essentially slipping into the delusion that he could have saved Mary if he made a different choice. Which isn't too far off from one of the endings in Silent Hill 2. Like, I would compare it to either the White Claudia ending or the Maria ending, right? They are essentially James falling into the delusion that he could have done things differently. It's just the route that the movie took to get to its conclusion was so bumpy. Like, the movie pretty much shows all its cards halfway through the second act. And once it does, you kind of, instead of getting this feeling where it's like, oh, I see what they're doing, it's more like, oh, we're doing this. Like, that's what it felt like watching it. It was a very clumsy execution of what could have been a really great idea. Okay, number 2. If you're anything in the Silent Hill fandom, you've probably seen a bunch of memes of this, but my number 2 point is Mary, Maria, Angela, Laura, Curry. Oh god, just thinking of that, I literally laughed out loud in what was a pretty packed theater at night in my the movie theater I went to. So it was actually pretty packed, even though it was quite late. I laughed out loud when that fucking tombstone popped up. But the thing is, that tombstone, even though it's pretty funny, it's actually very indicative of a much larger problem this movie suffers from. By combining these very distinct characters into essentially one entity, you rob each character of their depth, right? Like, I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to essentially merge them in a way where it's like, these are different aspects of Mary as a person, right? You have like her trauma, which is representative of Angela. You have her fun-loving nature, which is representative of Maria, and her sort of, and like that childlike innocence, which is Laura. But they butcher the hell out of that idea by rushing through it. Inevitably, it mistreats each character and mistreats that idea because it's kind of rushed through. I feel like Angela, like, specifically was... Angela and Laura specifically, I actually think Maria was handled okay, but Angela and Laura were butchered because they turned Laura into a stereotypical creepy girl, and God, Angela is such a nothing character in this movie. There's like little hints to the trauma, right? But like any like depth and like all the tragedy that comes from Angela's story, it's all gone. Because it has to be connected to Mary in a way, and I don't think it jams well. I feel like it could have. I feel like this idea could have if they delved more into it, if they fleshed it out more. But they didn't. I mean, the movie only has a runtime of like 1 hour and 30. This movie definitely needed like an extra 30 minutes just to sort of delve more into these characters and really explore the themes. Like Silent Hill 2 is a very slow burn story. This movie, for what it wants to do, it rushes through it. Like even Shattered Memories is very slow burn. Like this movie needed to be a slow burn movie instead of a massive fireworks display, and that's what it is. Point number 3, cults. The cult being in this movie was a massive fucking mistake. You essentially waste valuable screen time on a boring, unoriginal cult that has none of the charm of the cult that's in the games. Like, absolutely zilch. Like, even then, there's a reason the original Silent Hill 2 game, and even the remake, like, it's relatively devoid of cult stuff. Like, there's some references to it, but, like, that's it. By introducing the cult to the Silent Hill 2 story, you muddy and complicate what is almost a relatable struggle that is the relationship between Mary and James. What should have been scenes showcasing Mary's sudden, abrupt battle with illness and the strain on the relationship that comes with that, instead turns into, "I'm sorry, James. My papa was poisoning me all my life, and now I'm dying. I'm sorry for hiding this conspiracy from you. That's my bad, James. That's my B." It's such a mess that it really muddies it. Because, and in doing that, you also kind of ruin an aspect of James's character, because it completely forgoes the reason James felt guilt in the first place. It wasn't just because he killed her. Like, it wasn't just because of the Mercy killing. That's not why he fucking despised it himself and had suicidal tendencies and just a lack of, like, any sense of self-preservation. That wasn't why. The reason why was because he actually wanted to do it. He had been dealing with so much, like, verbal abuse, taking care of his sick wife, that by the time it actually got to the point where she was asking him to kill her, he wanted to do it, and he, like, despised himself for, like, having that feeling. And the movie completely forgoes that. It makes it so that James is, like, this troubled artist, and James in this movie is barely, like, in the wrong. It doesn't feel like he's, like, in the wrong at any point. Like, he's ever done anything. He doesn't do anything wrong in this movie. Like, James in the original Silent Hill 2, like, makes mistakes. He fucks up. He's like a bit of a, like, when that memory clicks in, right? That, like, oh, I killed Mary. When that happens, and he tells Laura, like, it's such a, like, even in the original, like, you can see it in his face. It's like this torment. It's something that he just can't handle. Like, he can't handle what he did. Like, in the original Silent Hill 2, James goes to the town to kill himself. In this movie, the town doesn't even exist. It's kind of in his head. It's just a mess. It's a mess like that. But at the same time, it does things right. It does so much things that I thought were really cool. Like this movie just, like all the Silent Hill movies, they just frustrate me. I try to enjoy them as their individual thing, but they make these unnecessary changes all the time that just muddy it. And this movie butchers what the original was about, right? I feel like it could have still gone the Shattered Memories route. It still could have gone the route that it went on, but it fumbled the execution, I think, because I think what it wanted to do wasn't that bad of an idea. It just fumbled it. Which leads us to what I would have done differently. Now, I am by no means an expert. I failed like film when I went and studied that in uni. I'm by no means an expert on this stuff, but I feel like there are some changes that I would make to this film without completely gutting, like, that idea that the movie was going for. So sort of like, I would make these changes whilst keeping that Shattered Memories influence, because I don't actually think that's a bad idea. I actually think that's a pretty clever way to sort of streamline Silent Hill 2's story into, like, a movie length runtime. Okay, I think to make the idea work better, one, remove the cult and any reference to it. This frees up more time to explore not only James's personality and his struggles, but also his relationship with Mary. Essentially, any scene that involves the cultish behavior of the town, you cut. You instead would replace it with them forming a bond. You would instead replace it with Mary getting sick and just the inevitable collapse of their relationship that comes with that. And this might be a hot take, but I would actually remove Angela from this story, as much as it pains me to say it. I don't think it's realistic to include her deeply tragic story in this movie's runtime, because like by cramming it in, you don't have enough time to explore it, like at all, right? And like because of that, you end up just butchering her story and her tragedy that I think unfortunately a lot of people, especially those like victims of sexual assault, it's something that a lot of people can relate to, and you end up butchering it by not treating it with the respect and time it deserves. So I honestly would cut her from the movie, and instead I would replace her scenes with more stuff exploring James's both suicidal and self-destructive tendencies. The movie has like a little bit of his self-destructive tendencies. They make reference to his alcoholism, which is like in Silent Hill 2, it's sort of implied that he's a recovering alcoholic. So they make references to that in this movie. They needed to also delve into more of the like that suicidal, self-destructive like tendencies that James has. I think they do, like I said, they do it a couple times. They have the drinking, and there's this one bit with the nurses where like with no concern of his safety, James just kind of rushes into them with like a pipe and just starts swinging. That's something I feel like James would inevitably do. Now, another thing I would change is essentially Laura. Laura would receive a major overhaul. I would still keep her as an extension of Mary. But instead of like stereotypical creepy girl who constantly talks in a low whisper and like does this thing with her head where she like, you know what I mean? Like instead of that, I instead would like sort of have her be James's like guiding compass, guiding her through Silent Hill, which is an extension, James's mind, in an attempt to help him overcome his trauma. And that kind of leads us to Maria. Now, in regards to Maria, I don't think she was handled all too poorly. She just needed more time to develop. I would have her be aware that she's nothing more of a delusion in James's subconscious, because in the game, that's actually part of what makes her such an interesting character, is that she knows why she exists. And she kind of like hates that, and she knows that like if James leaves Silent Hill, like at least without her, like she's gone. She's a manifestation of the town, and she knows it. And that leads to a lot of interesting character dynamic. Genuinely surprised we haven't gotten Born from a Wish in the remake, but that would be awesome. But we haven't gotten that yet. So I would add that element of her character back into the story. How it would play with Laura, I think is thing. I wouldn't have, because the thing is, I never necessarily see Maria as like this, as sort of like a bad guy, like, you know what I mean? Like, as like she, don't get me wrong, she's an antagonist in the literary sense, because a big misconception a lot of people have is that an antagonist is a villain. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. All an antagonist is actually someone who just promotes like the protagonist to sort of push on and continue the story, and like promotes change in the protagonist. That's what an antagonist is. And Maria does that job in like a literary sense, without necessarily being a villain. It's like, that's what I mean. You need to give Maria more time to sort of have that complex feeling. And in regards to how I would essentially treat her and Laura is, like, Laura obviously knows what Maria is in my little retelling of her being a guiding compass, like guiding James through his trauma. And I think Maria would sort of be like a monkey's paw, where she's helping James, but when it comes to stuff like specifically about Mary, she would like kind of twist the harsh reality and the harsh truth, kind of pretty it up, make it more like a moth pretending to be a butterfly, right? Like that's kind of what I would do. And eventually James realizes what she's doing, realizes that the relationship he had with Mary wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, and that leads to that would lead to like we would let's say like Maria sort of like fading away, right? Because it is, remember, we are keeping the idea that this is in his head. And to make all this like work, the movie needs like a longer runtime. I think 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is the movie's runtime, is far too short. It doesn't do the film justice. I think the movie needs to be at least 2 hours long to sort of really delve into these things. Like those are the changes I would make. I know it's a bit of a ramble. And to conclude, I feel the best way to describe the Silent Hill movies, especially Return to Silent Hill, is to call them a mixed bag. And what I mean by that is inside that mixed bag, there are like a few rusty, sharp nails that just hurt you to your core. Once you get past that, there's some like okay chocolate, like maybe it's melted a little bit from the sun, but it's chocolate, you'll eat it and you like it, it's chocolate. There's some okay, and then you dig past that, and there are like a couple little gold nuggets of just things that you really like that keep you coming back to that mixed bag, despite the fact that you come out of it filled with cuts and bruises. So, not cuts and bruises, you come out of it with a bunch of cuts and you have to get a fucking tetanus shot. That's the best way I can describe these movies. I hope you enjoyed my little rant, another one of my talking head rants. Feel free to correct me in the comments below and tell me just how wrong I am and how either A, this movie is a masterpiece or this movie is absolute dog shit. Feel free to tell me that. I will read all of them because, like, you know, that's just what you do when you only have around 80 subscribers. All right. Peace out, everyone. You have a good night or good morning or good afternoon or good whatever, wherever you are. Take care of yourselves. Bye.